Hello everyone, we are back again, back and back again on DLS, the show that brings you the most captivating, interesting, funny topics around the world. Today, I'm with my brothers here. We want to discuss a very simple topic that I think everybody would have an interest in, and that is the differences between the African education and the Chinese education. Focusing on the Ghanaian education because we are all from Ghana. So, without much ado, let's go. So we are back. Before we start, I want to have a small shot. Chinese would say Gambe with my brothers. Just a little bit to warm up. Welcome to our show. Cheers
to progress, to long life.
Progress.
All right.
To the progress.
To the rise of Africa.
So, my brothers, the topic is simple.
Very simple.
I said, the differences between the African education, particularly Ghana, and the Chinese one. I want to know your take, and I also want to hear your take. But before, what is your take?
I think having been educated in Ghana, I think it's only fair to say that we more focus on the academic part of the education, as in reading, writing, especially writing, right? We take lots of notes, and there is not so much practical aspect of it, as in on hands, practicing pretty much what you've learned in the classroom, right? So it's more like we call it in Ghana, book long, right?
Okay.
We speak great English, we know how to write, how to spell, how to communicate and everything. But when it comes to the skill set, getting to the ground, doing stuff, creativity, critical thinking, I think that is one thing that is very, very lacking in our educational system. Compared to China, I don't know, we've been here for a while and we've seen there's a big difference. They rather focus more, it's like the opposite, right? They focus more on skill set, training. Because if you pick two people, let's say mechanic, in Ghana we call them fitter, right?
Yeah.
Even in the street, we're not talking about mechanical Lloyd or those professionals, right? We're just talking about
places that are properly set up.
Exactly, we're not talking about properly set up like big companies. And you pick an average street mechanic from China, right? Big difference. They know how to use machines, they know how to use like updated technological machines, readings and everything, whereas the average Ghanaian fitter,
It's still fitting.
he's still fitting, right?
Okay.
Plug and play, take something, replace, that's it. But how to diagnose problems, how to be able to assess stuff and say this is what the problem is, it's very difficult. It's more like trial and error back home.
So it means it's all based on educational system.
Yes.
Yeah. What about?
Well, for me to introduce this, I would say that having taught in some, say, elementary schools, one major difference that I want to start with is back home. I don't remember exactly when, but at some point we are allowed to start using calculator in school. But when you go to their primary schools here, up to a very high level, I can't say as a fact, but I know up to a certain high level, the children are not allowed to use calculators. And I realized that the math that they do in primary school sometimes is what we start doing in middle school, like logarithms and all those complicated math. They started very early, and that's why they always win all these math competitions when they go international. So they start doing a lot of complicated math very, very young. So I'm not surprised that their technology grows much faster. So that's what I'll say just to introduce this topic.
Thank you, but my take also is I agree with you too, and I cannot add much because the only and I think we will go deep into it, but the only side I think we get in our education system is the little freedom to explore, to make mistakes, and which is not here with the Chinese.
And when you say explore, is it like with the theoretical aspect
No,
or
no,
the
no, 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 no,
practical
no, no,
aspect?
not the practical one. It has to do with, like, they are serious. Let me put it this way.
You mean the Chinese?
Yeah, although we do, like, we copy and paste and blah 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 blah, and we mow and we chew and whatever. With them, the space for error is this small. Yeah, it's like you don't have room to make mistakes.
Yeah, but you don't think because that comes with the fundamentals, right? Because they start at an early age, and by the time they get to the point where they take in real exams in the real world, they're pretty much prepared, right? So the margin for error is very small.
Yeah.
Because we've seen middle school student, high school student, engaging in robotics. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're going to see 11, 12 teenagers, right? We're not talking about, like, Transformers, Iron Man type of robotics, but small, simple stuff that can
Understanding
move.
the basic
Exactly.
technology,
Yeah,
right?
because I that's why I'm saying I agree with you two, because if you look at the Chinese education,
Yeah.
it is focused on math, science,
Technology.
technology,
Yeah.
what else?
Engineering.
Engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The STEM, what we
like
call STEM.
STEM.
Right.
Good. And that is where the focus is. And that is why they've reached this far.
Yeah.
You understand? As in, for our education, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't know what exactly our education is for. But every time I think about it, I just think about a group of people that are being trained to get employed.
Right.
Yeah, to go look for jobs. Thank you. I'm very
Yeah,
glad you
right.
touched on
You
that point,
understand.
because it's very straightforward
And-
simple.
Yeah, and it's sad. That is why I think we have a lot of students back home. They've completed school and they don't have much to do because
They become square pegs. They don't fit in.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I don't know whether you can tell me, El. Do you think there should be some changes? And what would that changes be for you if you have to make changes in our education?
In our education system. For me, I've always been an advocate of technical and vocational education. I now I can say, unfortunately.
Hold on, but before we had it, don't get me wrong.
Right.
Those who were in the late or early
70s,
90s,
yeah.
there were vocational skills,
Right.
home economics, and stuff.
Right.
So something happened, and then it was changed.
I think
But-
some of these programs are still there, but they are mostly now private, privately run, and there are still some government-run ones as well, the technical schools and all
No,
that.
but before it
But-
was in like from even primary school.
Yeah.
Like during the primary.
Even we all did it.
Yeah,
Technical
I
skills,
did.
vocational
No,
skills,
but I
life
remember, I
skills.
think it was not too long ago, there is a new policy out that all the vocational and technical schools are being switched to universities.
Yeah.
No,
Polytechnics.
okay, with that is a different one. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the JSS.
Right.
Or
Right.
before it was
Yeah.
what do you call it? A levels and whatever.
O-level,
Yeah,
A
O
level.
level but during those times in the JSS,
Yeah.
you still have the opportunity to pick technical drawing, technical skills to
Yeah, we
enhance
had
your
technical drawing, technical skills, life skills, vocational skills, social studies, all these
things.
Yeah.
Talking about social studies,
Yeah.
that was what I was trying to remember. That is the other side. When you come to China, they don't really have,
Yeah.
because
Cultural studies.
they
have
don't.
those things,
So the kids they cannot explore.
Yeah.
You
On,
know?
on that one, I think we are doing better.
Yeah,
Social studies and life skills, because we used to even do catering, cooking in school.
that is what I'm
They'll
saying.
put us in groups. We go shop,
Chop,
come and
cook.
show our cooking
Yeah, I
skills,
remember
yeah.
we cooked. I
Home-
cooked some
home,
jollof.
good grooming, all those
Yeah.
subjects that we did, topics we did. So, like I was saying, I think that there's been somewhere along the line we prioritized tertiary education to the detriment of technical and vocational education. But if you look at countries like China, South Korea, Germany, if you look at the education history, they have a point in education like, for example, SSE. So those who don't get a certain pass mark, the only place they can end up is in these technical and vocational institutions. You can choose to go there, but your score also tells if you can go higher or just stay in the tech. But what happens at the end of the day is everyone comes out trained as a useful citizen. You can have a degree, become a medical doctor, or you can go to a technical school and become a professional, and I put this word professional mechanic or professional electrician or professional whatever. So you find a case in countries like Europe where you call a plumber to come and fix something. He's coming with his registered company, with his own van, with his own equipment. So he tells you, before I get there, consultation fee is 50 euros.
Yeah.
Before I even look at the problem. So you don't have the case where a doctor is way more important than an electrician or a plumber. But in our case, we haven't put emphasis on the skills subjects, and so people who have degrees feel
they are more
important than any other person. So at the end of the day, we relegate all the other millions into the background, and at the end of the day, we have people who are just walking about aimlessly.
That I mean, that also takes me back to, I would take it, I mean, from a very simplistic standpoint, right? Just like the phones now, right?
Yeah.
Now we have Android, 13? Where did they start from? Android 4, 5, 6, just like iPhones, right? iPhones, 3, 4, 5, and now we're down to iPhones, 14, blah, blah, blah. So it's like in everything you need to upgrade.
Yeah.
But it looks like in Ghana, and I think most part of the African countries, we do not upgrade in a timely and, I don't know.
We don't change with the times.
We don't change with the time. The time is like, the velocity, right? The pace.
Hold on. But are we with the times?
It's coming to my point, because it's like, if you look at the way our educational system goes.
Because you have to be in the time to run with the time.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the time from the beginning,
I think we're way behind.
Way behind, because my nephew now, my brother sent me like a list of books he's supposed to buy for his kid, and I'm seeing the exact same books we studied in school.
Right.
that is about 100 years ago.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But this is the problem. Side. The world is moving so fast. I mean, how many iPhones have been out since we finished school, right? How many TVs have been upgraded? How many homes have been upgraded? I mean, in every sector of our lives, things get upgraded, things get updated.
I remember, let me cut you. I remember when I was in uni, there was a program, I don't remember what it was, and one student asked one of the professors, one of the deans, why we in Ghana or in Africa as a whole, we still study courses like philosophy. Most of these philosophical theories and thinking didn't even originate from us. Mm-hmm. Most of them came from Greece. And so,
hold on a second. Mm-hmm. Even with that, I have my own theory or my own mindset on it. You see, I always go with this mantra: if you don't learn to tell your story, somebody will tell it for you.
Yeah.
So I never buy into people saying, "Oh, this started from this place." Like we Africans, we were not part of the world. You understand?
Yeah.
But when you go deep into history, it tells you that most of the things started from our place. So, like you're saying, philosophers and the Shakespeare's and blah blah blah.
Right.
I always believe there is an African out there who started it before these people.
Right.
That is my take on it.
Yeah.
And I never get to understand. So I support the question your colleague was asking then, that why is it that we go about studying people that we don't know,
Exactly.
yet in our systems we have people who have equally done more and are doing more in even other countries that we need to be learning from or we learning about them that will inspire the next generation.
Exactly. So
that is why I keep asking you, are we part of the race or we are just running after the people?
Well, so let me just conclude with that question. What the students were saying is, why don't we learn things that are like solve our local problems? And in that year, a program called BSc Water and Sanitation was introduced, and we're like, yeah, these are the sort of programs that we need, because we need to solve the problems that we have currently.
I wanted to add something. You see, we talk about the China education here. The universities here, if you write your theory, your thesis, those who have written stuff about Africa or let's say Ghana, and I know a student who did a very good thesis, and the uni here, they took it from him, went to our place and started implementing it in the business form.
Yeah.
The thesis you wrote, you and I, we don't know what it's used for.
Yeah, nobody, they are sitting on shelves gathering dust. That's what we are good at doing.
I think it stems from the same old problem, right? Mindset. Because we have our problems, right? You cannot compare our problems with the West or to India's. Every country has their own set of problems. And second, like you said, it's like if you don't tell your story, somebody else is going to tell it for you.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I wouldn't call it like a race, because it's like that more stems from like a point of competition, right? But why can we rather like collaborate, right? Just work with other people, because that's the thing. So you have a neighbor, right? And they know something you do not know. What's wrong in going to ask them, hey, how did you do it? And then we learn and implement them in our own way. It doesn't have to be exactly the way they did it, right? Because customs, traditions, everything is different.
Right.
So we learn from them and then we implement it in our own way to benefit our people.
That informed my next question, and we will use this question to wrap up this discussion. Is it wrong to copy? Because the reason why I'm asking, and it all goes down to the education thing we are talking about. The Western world, the whole world has a certain perception about China. And it's all about they copy. They copy. And all they know is to copy. All they know is to copy. But my question, from my point, I don't see anything wrong with it, because that is the culture we have from our upbringing. When you're doing stuff, you protect it from people, for them to, even in class. Right? And we've not been able to achieve anything with that, right? But these people allow you to do what you want to do, and with time you master it.
Right.
So with that mindset, do you think it is wrong to copy?
Yeah, for me it's very basic, it's very simple. There's nothing wrong with copying, because I think the whole world is built on copying, right? I think if you go to the US, there's a lot of like music, dances that we all copy from different backgrounds, different cultures, right? I mean, if you pick like street dance, it's all a mixture of like, hip hop, jazz, contemporary dance, it's all a mix. Pick any area in like, history or whatever, we copy from each other, right? Even the foods, right? There are similarities in everything. How can you really say this guy really started it? And how many people can really come up with like a very specific original idea? It's not easy. I feel like there's nothing under the sun that has not been done. Right? So I think you can copy, but when it's like 100% like, photocopy, right? That's when there's a problem. But you will copy and maybe like, tweak it a little bit, add yours to it and what. Because if you pick cars, phones, everything, they have the same basic thing, right? Make calls, text messages, instant messages. But if you pick, let's say, Huawei, Apple, I mean, there's differences, but there are also similarities, right? But you can tell there are copies here and there. Who is to say Apple did not copy something from Samsung? We don't know that. Who is to say Pepsi did not copy something from Coca-Cola? Who is to say the West is not copying some of their governance from Africa? Who is to say that the Romans did not copy something from Africans back in the day? Right? So it's all very nuanced. So I don't think there's anything wrong with copying, except, like I say, if you really copy blatantly, like 120%, like photocopy, then people look at it like, come on, that's not okay. But I think we all do copy.
Right. I agree with you guys. I don't think 100% ditto copying, that is not fair to the originator. But like we said, there's nothing new.
Copying though.
Right, but there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, everything or almost everything has already been done. So you can copy the idea and tweak it and make it better. And another thing, one example I'll give is if you look at, let's take the example of South Korea, like Kia, Hyundai. They came onto the scene of making cars way later than the Europeans and Japanese. And someone said something funny. I don't know how true this is, but they said when Kia made their first car, they put it in drive and the car was going reverse. But
I mean, I did not know that, but it could be possible, right?
But today, people are selling their cars
Yeah.
and buying Korean cars
Yeah.
because they give you all the functions, whereas these top brands will ask you to pay for every little extra function you have. And their cars are much more desirable now. They're cheaper. They are technology. They are filled with technology. They drive nicely. They are safe. So you have to start from somewhere. And like you said before, everything has under this sun has already been done. So
Yeah, not to cut you off. This is a problem a lot of people saying the whole stereotypical thing about China, right? Copy, 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 copy. But if you look at where a car like BYD started, a phone like Huawei, they all started making crappy stuff, right?
BYD
Admit
was
it.
even a battery company. It was
Exactly,
a
right?
company.
For me, for me, I prefer. You have to copy to be better.
Yeah, and then you build up on the copy,
Exactly.
right? You don't
And-
sit there like I'm copied, I'm
And
done. Right?
with the Chinese education, what I've seen is if you copy someone, make sure at the end of the day you make it better, or the group of people you are feeding or you are producing your stuff for, make sure they can afford.
Right.
So they also feel part of society.
Right.
And that is what they've done through their education. If you have to pick the type of education to have, with your experience here being a retired teacher here, which of the two, which one would you want to have? The
Oh,
Ghanaian education
absolutely, no doubt. Chinese education.
or
Because
the Chinese education?
yeah, I need to explain a little because just like I was talking about BYD, blah blah blah, right? Now these guys are selling cars, they sell everything to Europe, America, right? They're global. So they started out copying, but they did not sit and say, let's make the same thing Tesla is doing. Tesla's got a screen, right?
Yeah.
But now you check the Chinese cars,
Oh,
right?
man.
better
The,
It's
the
another
screens
thing.
can be shifted, can be rotated.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So the fundamentals, the very basic, of course, you will need. It's just like a mentor, right?
Yeah.
You need somebody to teach you and direct you
Yeah.
and put you on the right path.
Yeah.
But you cannot do exactly the same thing Osibisa did. It's impossible,
Right.
You cannot do the same thing Rama Brew, Nat Brew, and all these like actors. You can't do the exact same thing. You have to find your own way of presenting your talent and making it unique. So there's nothing fundamentally wrong about copying.
Right.
This is why I like the Chinese educational system, because they're being taught to think forward. This is here now, right? I can see it. I can make it now. Okay, 5 years ahead, what can you add to this?
Yeah.
What value? You don't have to create the glass from scratch. It
Yeah,
already
it's
exists.
already- yeah.
But what can you add to it?
Out of glass
Exactly.
material.
To find a new audience,
Yeah.
a new client base, right? And I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, the little bit of contribution that you can add to things.
Right. And that's why we see a lot of innovation every day in
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
Because students are coming out all the time with new ideas. I think, so it's quite simply, it's a little, like what you say, it's a little different from, say, a country like the US where you talk of Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
and that's where everybody knows technology comes out of.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they
But
have
in
the same
China-
thing here.
In China,
They have a city where
you can even go to a village and
Yeah.
there's some guy sitting in a
Yeah.
storeroom somewhere.
Yeah, but I think
Innovating
Chinese Silicon
something.
Valley, so I think it's Hangzhou, they have like a big tech, like, you know,
Right.
environment.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, Hanzhou, yeah.
But the thing I'm talking about is when we talk about education per se, right? I know a company or companies, because I'm into business now, that they do not go to these companies like professional companies for what do you call patent and what I know.
Yeah.
They go to universities.
Universities,
They have connections with the professors,
Right.
and the professors give tasks to
Right.
the students.
Students.
Yeah.
To create data samples of stuff like
Yeah.
robotics,
Yeah.
and then they give those data and like, you know, whatever algorithm to the companies, and the
Yeah.
companies build up on it because it's cheap,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
as opposed to going to a professional, like, you know,
Right.
company.
Right.
And these kids, like young minds, right? They're enthusiastic. They're hungry. You know.
That is why you need to be in China to really understand
Yeah.
what we are talking about, because yes, the demand on their students,
Yeah.
as in the
It's a
time you
lot.
go to school
Yeah.
and the time you come back from school,
Yeah.
it's demanding,
Right.
it's stressful.
Yeah.
For me, when I was young, at that time I was running to play football. So, but here they finish school, they have to go to extra classes to build, create a certain talent. You understand, like the pianos, then blah 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 blah. So, with what I've seen, I get it. As a kid, they need to explore a little bit. If you take that side away, I would prefer this kind of education, and I would have loved to have this kind of education. And the reason is, even in their schools, when they spot your talent and you're good at swimming, they enhance it. When they spot you are a good footballer,
they do not waste talent. But that's what you're saying.
They don't waste talent, and they make sure you don't push your education aside. Your education is key, but your talent follows. And that is why I'll pick. That is the main reason why I'll pick. Because if it wasn't for that, maybe I would be the next, Patrick Vieira or C. Ronaldo or something. Right now, I'm sitting here doing podcasts for you. But you did not tell me what the one you picked.
I think I would take a blend of the two, and a blend in the sense that I still kind of like some of the subjects that we learned in school, like we mentioned before. Cultural studies, vocational studies, all those. Because quite frankly, if you look on the positive side, there are certain things we are better at doing. Like coming from Ghana or in Africa, a guy is not afraid to leave home because you can handle yourself, you can cook, you can take care of your own home. It's sad to say that but through experience, we've seen that some people can't do that. They leave home and they don't know what to do. So those things we learn from home and from school as well. So subjects like cultural studies, vocational studies, which they don't do here, I would like to keep those. But when it comes to the math and the sciences, I would choose the Chinese system any day.
And developing your talent.
Exactly. Because apart from the fact that they learn theory, they also have a lot of practicals. You go to any school, it can be a kindergarten, it can be a primary.
But I don't know. I think we're missing one point. It's like it's almost as if the Chinese do not practice or they do not teach cultural studies. But I think they do in their own way.
Culture,
because they in their schools they try to limit Western influence teachings as much as possible. Even teaching them English, right? There is a limit to it, not more than maybe 30 minutes per week or something like that.
I think they do that through activities, but not subjects.
Not subjects.
Not
Exactly.
subjects. Secondly, you talked about the technical skills and things we talked about when we were young. Just across the street here, there's a primary school here. My friend is a teacher there, so I do go there a lot. And the last time I went was like, come and see our technical skills place. And man, you need to see it. This is somebody's shop. This is somebody's workshop.
That is what we're talking about, the tech side of it. But no, I'd like to come back to what Leo said, because it's interesting, because like I said, it's not as if they do not incorporate their culture, whatever, in the subject. I think they do. We just do not know or understand it, because I think all the kids get this run with their hands. That's the Chinese writing and calligraphy, right? They learn to write them. And how many of us can say we can write Ga or Chi?
It may be very.
There is even a lot of things in our local language or dialect that we cannot even translate into English.
But that is another topic for another day. The influence of our languages and our culture. So we will talk about that. But I think with this topic, we've not finished. We need to expand it more, because we have a whole lot of things we've seen on the ground that we can add to it. But just for us to pick the kind of education we want, which he has given it 50-50, practically the same. I know he's the same too. I think we would end it here, and then probably a part 2 or a part 3 or a part 4 will come up with the same topic, but we expand it a little bit. So guys, thanks for being on this show with me today.
Always.
Episode 3 of BLS Wave. Thanks for joining us.
All right, subscribe. There's more to come.
Leave your comment and give us any suggestions you would prefer to
have us discuss on this channel.
All right.
I've run out.
I'm out. All right. Thank you guys.
All right,
Bye-bye.
guys. Thank you so much. See you guys. Bye.